What's up, everybody, and welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Thank you so much for being here. Today it is April 23rd, 2021, and we are talking about all things PlayStation. We are talking about the FPS Boost titles that are out right now through EA Play and Xbox Game Pass. A little bit of news to be talking about with the Sony side of things on PlayStation, looking at the exclusive new publisher coming over there. And we're just going to be chit-chatting for a little bit regarding some of the new PlayStation adding support for streaming for 1080p capable games over on PlayStation Now. If you guys are new to the show, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the show. We are live here today on the Assemble Show, giving you all the nerdy news you need to know about and you want to cover and chit-chat with us about. So, if you are new to the show, thank you so much for joining us. If you are a returning member, thank you for being here and thanks for joining us today. So let's get started and let's kick things off with talking about the FPS Boost titles, Game Pass, as well as looking at those titles and a little bit of news and conversation around Battlefront and what that might mean. So the first article that we have here is we're looking at that Microsoft brings FPS Boost support to 13 EA games on Xbox Series X and S today, which was yesterday. If you can't get enough of those video game frames, Microsoft has a bit. This article comes from Matt Wales over at Eurogamer, talking about the latest news in the boost that we're getting from more titles. If you just can't get enough of those video game frames, Microsoft has a bit of a treat for you. Today in the form of the FPS Boost support for 13 EA titles, including Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2, and Star Wars Battlefront 2. These are not small titles by any means. This is pretty cool. I enjoy me some boost mode. I liked it when Xbox initially announced this originally. I was a big fan of them doing the brand new boost mode. This is a great feature that they have. The article continues that FPS Boost, which debuted in February of this year of 2021, is designed to increase frame rates of legacy Xbox One games when they run on the Series X and S and pushing them up to 120 beautiful frames per second, which I love. Perry Stark, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here today. The article continues that to date, we've seen FPS Boost support for things like Skyrim and Dishonored and Sniper Elite 4, Watch Dogs 2, Fallout 76, but today on April 22nd, which was yesterday, that selection has been expanding for 13 titles from the EA Play catalog, which can also be accessed as part of Game Pass Ultimate, which I have, and I'm a big fan of Game Pass Ultimate. The titles that we have, everybody, are looking like this. We have Battlefield 1, but the big thing to look at too is some of these games are giving you at 120 hertz per second as well as 60 hertz per second, depending on the game itself. And I'm pretty excited to be able to get my hands and re-download a lot of these titles. So we've got, kicking things off, we got Battlefield 1, 4, and 5, all at 120 hertz per second on Series X. What's good is that on the Battlefield 4 side of things, the Series S is actually getting 120 hertz support. This is great because the Battlefield series itself is a really awesome one. I'm excited for the next installment of Battlefield. It's always one that I love how big it was. Battlefield 4, I remember when that one came out on the PlayStation 4, I believe, originally. Yeah, and it was plagued with bugs. I remember picking that up at my EB Games, being excited about it, being with my buddies, picking that game up, ready to play. I remember I had two consoles going. One was mine, one was my buddy's. Two monitors, separate screens, and we're ready to connect and go online. And the online, I remember, was absolutely broken. But EA has done a great job with the Battlefield series. Giving it longevity is the biggest thing. It's a beautiful game. Battlefield 5 was great. Still has a huge fan base. Still doing extremely well. Love me some Battlefield. It's good stuff. So Battlefield 1, 4, and 5, Mirror's Edge Catalyst at 120 hertz, Plants vs. Zombies series, so from Garden Warfare to Battle of the Neighborville, Garden Warfare 2, are all getting 120 hertz support. Sea of Solitude, I haven't played that one. 60 hertz. Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 are getting 120 hertz. This one I'm excited about because Star Wars Battlefront 2 is again very much a title that I really enjoyed. And when it initially came out, the campaign was very average. The multiplayer, while it was plagued with like loot crates, loot boxes, EA got a ton of heat at the time for this, for not supporting the game properly, for having microtransactions in the game. They completely pulled that back. They did better fan service. They made the game more user-friendly. It's gorgeous. Having that engine in there, it makes Battlefront beautiful, beautiful game. So having this thing at 120 hertz per second, I'm excited to go back and play Battlefront 2. The ones that I am very excited for are going to be Titanfall. Well, we have Titanfall 1 and 2 and Unravel 2, all coming in at 120 hertz per second. Titanfall 2 is the one for me. Out of this entire list, guys, let me know in the chat and what you think. Which titles out of these, if you are members of Game Pass Ultimate and you have EA Play through that, PC or Xbox, are any of these titles exciting to you? Are you looking forward to anything here? For me, it's going to be Battlefield 5, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Titanfall 2. Those titles I am definitely going to have to go back and get my hands on. The thing I got to remember, though, I got like no storage left. This is the biggest thing that is driving me nuts. It's my first world problem I have. I got no storage space. I keep downloading and deleting games. I've got an HDD drive backed up with all the older titles, and then I got to transfer those over if I want to play something, but I don't like doing any of that stuff. I want to get the big plug-in. I am saving up my beaver dollars here in Canada, and I am trying to save it, damn it, to get a brand new SSD, the plug-in for the back of my Series X. I want it. I need it. I need it to happen. Xbox, hit me up. Let me know. We can have a little partnership. We can have a good love time. Get this thing to happen. But those titles I'm excited for. Perry says in the chat, thank you for being here, buddy. Let me just put this up there, guys, if you can. And if you enjoy the show, do me a favor and subscribe to the show and follow us on Twitter. Go over to the Twitter and the Twitter machine and type and go to twitter.com/assemble_show to hit me up there. We can chit chat. We can talk video games, nerdy news. If you want to talk Marvel, DC, all of that fun stuff. Perry says, do you think Xbox and PlayStation hinting a partnership working together, then going up against each other in a console war? Perry, I'm not too sure. It's a good question. I am not thinking that there is much a console war conversation. We can totally do another episode on this. I don't feel that this is something that is happening very much anymore. I was on Brap podcast last weekend talking to those guys over there who are fantastic. Go look up the Brap podcast because I love those guys. But we were talking a lot about console war. The chat was talking about console wars, and I just my perspective was that Xbox and PlayStation are going down two different paths, and they are targeting different markets. And we'll get into the Sony side of things in a bit because it kind of supports what's going on with Sony. But I do believe that they are just simply going down two different roads. And I think that Xbox is, the Coles notes of all of this is Xbox is focusing in on subscription model. They want the massive player base that is nearing or is already at 20 million subscribers for Game Pass. Doesn't mean it's concurrent, live players, all of that stuff. But 20 million members are signed up for Xbox Game Pass across their platform. Having things working on xCloud, expanding that into iOS right now, PC with Game Pass, having these titles, EA Play built into Game Pass Ultimate. This is the model that Xbox is going down the road, where they feel that this is going to be the best for players as well as, investors in their wallets too, and get the biggest return. Sony's side of things is interesting. And before we get into that, I do want to just focus in on this FPS boost before we move on to the next news story, because it does touch on PlayStation strategy and dealing with exclusive titles and just sticking with exclusivity going forward. But I do feel that the Xbox is really going down the path of having multiple games, the Netflix style, being able to jump into titles, being able to support smaller developers, and they have just a wide gambit of titles that are under their belt right now. While PlayStation, I think, is going for more of the tried and true model of getting their exclusive titles as the big heavy hitters, and that's what they want, and that's what they want to focus on. When it comes to the FPS boost, I love this because it gives so much new life and brings players like me back. Microsoft notes at the end of this article, Microsoft notes that some of the games on the list have seen their resolution reduced when FPS boost is active to ensure a smoother experience. In these instances, FPS boost isn't automatically enabled, but can be turned on using the relevant settings and compatibility options as detailed in today's announcement post. And Digital Foundry has done some comparisons here as well. I love Digital Foundry, but showing off the difference between the different boosts, the titles going into different boost modes, and seeing what the difference really is across the board. I absolutely love this. It brings resurgence of life into specific titles. I love that I can go back into games like Battlefield and Battlefront and even Titanfall. Like, I loved Titanfall 2. I thought the campaign was actually very solid too. It was a great game. I love the one thing that I found with Titanfall 2 specifically was that at the time when it released, Call of Duty was doing very similar work in terms of having like uber fast wall jumping, like just Twitch gaming, shooting mechanics. Like everything was so fast paced on the Call of Duty side. And then Titanfall 2 was very much doing that in, futuristic setting and all of that for military. I just found that the two titles, two franchises were overlapping each other so much at the time. And then it's been nice that Call of Duty has gone back to slowing things down a little bit more, focusing in on World War I, World War II, and all of this, and allowing Titanfall, while an older title, giving it some life and be able to breathe on its own. I love it when I want to be able to go into extremely fast shooting mechanic, wall jumping, getting into my Titan. All that stuff is just fun. Titanfall 2 is a really great game if you're into a quick-paced shooter with really tight shooting mechanics. And again, I love the fact that for Xbox, I was going to say Xbox. No, that's WWE. I think that for Xbox players, Game Pass members, this gives so much life to games and re-energizes so many different franchises for players to be able to come back and enjoy or enjoy for the very first time. And I think that that's really, really important. It breathes new life into the catalogs. Being able to have something like Battlefield 5, Battlefield 4, Plants vs. Zombies 2 are fun to pick up and play. And it's showing off the hardware. And we talk a lot about, and communities talk a lot about how there are no games. There are no games, first-party titles, franchises on Xbox. And yes, we can get EA Play on PlayStation side. But for PC players as well, having EA Play available through Xbox, through Game Pass, is a huge win too. Being able to jump into something like Battlefront 2 on your PC with 120 hertz per second, with just a bananas of a PC, you are going to do really, really well on that side.